You are listening to the most original talk radio station anywhere. We are LA Talk Radio at latalkradio.com.
You're listening to Fouché Way with Brandon Fouché, right here on LA Talk Radio.
Well, hello, and welcome to the Fouché Way radio show, live every Thursday at 1 o'clock p.m., sponsored by a nonprofit organization called Canine Hope for Improvement Program, where we hope to improve the quality of our dogs' lives by moving towards a no-kill society. The number here is 818-602-4929. Well, I want to kind of bring in last week and, in the weeks to come, because I want to be talking about how I basically deal with my dogs and reveal certain things at different times. And I want to start by saying, a lot of you know that I'm from St. Louis, Missouri, and my mom is from Louisiana. And old folks have sayings that when you hang around with them, you actually kind of pick them up. And one of the ones that I was thinking about this morning is when they used to say that you kids are just like sheep, easy to lead in the wrong direction and hard as hell to lead in the right direction. And this morning I found myself saying that to the dogs. And I guess in a way I am somewhat of a shepherd tending to his sheep. And sometimes I look like one. Depending on what time of the day you catch me. Bleach-stained pants, shoes, shirt torn, sometimes hay because of the horses, And rightfully so. I mean, because I have a sense of duty to take care of them, to lead them back if they go astray, and to protect them from harm. And to do that, a shepherd must know his sheep. Now, there are times when this job seems monumental. I mean, the vastness of the totality of it all can be sometimes so overwhelming, it can push you into a deep state of urgency to get things done, to try and make it happen, to get it right, so that you can make it clear for others. And this pressure that is placed on you forces you to look beyond your eyes, because they do show limitations when you're dealing with aggression. So you must have faith in what you know and what you believe in. And in order for that belief to become truth, you must do it over and over again with success. Then your level of knowledge elevates. And whatever is on that level will be available for you to learn from. Because there are different types of aggression. We have fear aggression, we have dominance aggression, we've got subdominance aggression, and some dogs are multi-layered. But each of the aggressions has a different level that we must understand. And we cannot wish that this aggression does not exist. And we cannot shy away from it, because if we do, we will never understand it. It is there for a reason, and that reason is to teach us how to keep it at bay by reducing the stress that leads to the aggression. It is a sign that we have not been made aware of. This type of energy, this aggression that I'm talking about, that surrounds us, we contribute to it. And that creates the weakness in the human being. We must become that energy so that it does not overtake us. You learn this information in a pack. They teach you. This is what I'm trying to teach. This knowledge is revealed only within the pack, but it has been a guarded secret because we've never wanted to really accept aggression. And so I'm making you a part of this knowledge. And this is what's called the Fouché way. And an example of this knowledge is with our next guest that I want to talk to. And she is all the way from Mexico with a dog by the name of Keisha, and her name is Janet Torres. How are you today, Janet?
Hi, Brandon. I'm doing good. Thank you.
You know, I want to tell our listeners, because you have a very unique situation here. I mean, you saved this dog. You brought this dog all the way from Mexico. And what I was mentioning earlier about the level of knowledge that I'm talking about and that I'm trying to get across to the people that listen to this show, it's not all about exactly what I do, but it's really about what I know. And when you came to me, you called me up and you told me that, you have this dog that's coming in from Mexico, and I think it was coming in from your sister. And can you tell our listeners your journey from Mexico here to Los Angeles with this dog?
Yes. Yeah, sure. Last summer, I went to Mexico to visit my family. And during my stay, I saw this dog living in a car. And it was an old car. And I saw the dog, and I asked neighbors around if they knew anything about her. Oh, I didn't know at that time. So I asked around, and they told me that the dog was living there for 3 months. And at first, a teenage boy bought this girl and kept her in the house. But of course, she got older, and the mom didn't want the dog there anymore. So they placed her. Since we didn't have a patio or a yard, they placed the dog in that car. And at first, the teenage boy, who was the owner, was taking her for walks. But then probably he got tired of it and just started feeding her through a window and would not take her outside.
You mean feeding her through the window of the car?
Yeah, he was feeding her through a window, and he wouldn't take her outside to do her necessities, to pee or nothing.
Mm-hmm.
So I went 3 days in a row to see the movement of the house. At what time would they be in the house or leave the house?
Mm-hmm.
So when I saw a chance, I just took her with me.
I see. You rescued her.
Yeah. And yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So I took her to my sister's house, and we tried to go to different trainers because she was very aggressive towards dogs. My sister has 2 dogs, and the first day she got in, she did the lab.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So we had to place Grace in a different room. We had to isolate her. It was really bad. And my vacations ended, so I had to come back to the U.S., and my sister kept trying to look for somebody that could help her. She took her to vets in Mexico, and one of them told her that she was never going to be able to get rid of that aggression, and he even suggests euthanasia.
Euthanasia. Mm-hmm.
Yes. And I got really mad when she told me that. I was like, oh, my God, what type of fit is that? If she doesn't have a cure, the solution is just to kill her?
Mm-hmm.
So I told her, no, wait, let me look something here. Maybe it would be best for Kreisha to bring her to the U.S. to ask for help.
Mm-hmm.
So before Kreisha arrived, I sent emails to all the people rescues in California, and it was the Angel City people, the ones that recommend, the ones that told me about you.
Okay. Now,
yeah, that's how.
Well, let me ask you now, because you came to my place, I talked to you a couple of times, and you were telling me that, the trainers also that tried to work with her said that she needed to be put to sleep. Is that correct?
Yes,
okay.
Yes.
So, they didn't even try training her, or they just saw the aggression?
They did.
Okay.
They tried.
Okay. But
when they saw Kreisha acting aggressive, they got scared.
Okay. And the doctor, he prescribed medication for her, right?
Yes, he did. An antidepressant.
Antidepressants?
Which was doing nothing for her, yes.
Yeah, we did a show about that. And, you didn't tell me at first that she was on medication when she came to me. And normally when dogs are on medication, I like to wait until they're off medication to actually really see what's going on. But but I could tell she didn't look like she was on any type of medication. And
No.
And that medication never worked
I
for you.
actually removed the medication, and she's acting the same.
Yeah. She's really high strung. Okay?
Yes.
And as I mentioned earlier in the show, we've got different types of aggression. Okay? And there's different levels. And then we deal with aggression that may be learned or genetic. Okay? And so because of her age, we are assuming that this is genetic behavior that we're seeing, right? But, I'm sure that's what the doctors were thinking because of the age. And when I look at a dog like this, I'm weighing all of the options. We cannot come to a conclusion until we've weighed all the options, And so when you brought her to me and you were saying how aggressive she was, you couldn't walk her, you couldn't do anything, right?
No. I couldn't even take her for a walk. She's very strong, and I'm short and thin.
Okay.
She's too strong for me.
Well, as I was mentioning earlier in the show, when people train, and I want to be very clear with this, training is forcing a dog to do something that they already know how to do. This is the concept of training. Sit, stay, come, heel, down, no, place, off, leave it, things like that, okay? And when people tackle aggression, you have to understand the difference, meaning that training is a physical thing where we're trying to physically put a dog body in positions to control emotional behavior, okay? The problem is the stimulant that is producing the aggression, the hormone, it's powerful. It's too powerful for what we're asking the dog to do. The aggression, the stress is stronger than the hormone to sit or to stay or to lie down. In fact, the commands actually create more stress, which leads to the aggression that we're trying to avoid. Okay?
Yeah.
So, I haven't had a dog that I really have not been able to work with. I've had a lot of people, but not necessarily dogs. And in dealing with this kind of dog, there's always a first, And what you were describing to me, I said to you that there's always a first, And I asked you, just like I told the rest of my clients, to come back later on that evening, right? To have a consultation about what I found with the dog. And how did you feel when you came back?
I couldn't believe it. I thought, no, that's not crazy. That's another dog. I couldn't believe it. It was amazing what you did. And after, even today, I can take it for a walk. It's amazing. I don't have to put the other leash that goes on her face. Yeah,
you had the face and the double chain. You had a chain on her I'd never seen before. It was like a flip around clip facial. I never seen that, so that's pretty good.
That's what the best recommended.
Okay, all right, that's pretty. You hang around long enough, you see some of everything, But it's really important. I want our listeners to understand. There's a lot of this is going around, and is it going around because we don't know? Because we're not telling the truth. We don't want to help people. No, I think that we wish that it wasn't there. We wish that the aggression didn't exist. And just like anything in life, if you got a problem with something and you wish that it didn't exist, it doesn't go away. It increases, And so this show, and the reason I wanted you to come on, is to let people know that, again, and I can't say it enough, aggression is just the highest form of communication. It is a dog that is acting out of stress. And the human's part in this is to learn how to reduce stress so that we can keep aggression at bay. Okay? And your dog, what I have found, it is not a genetic behavior. It is definitely a learned behavior, but it is learned from the lack of socialization. This dog does not have a past, really, that taught it anything. Okay? It was locked in a car, fed through a car, and so everything is about excitement. Trying to get out of that car, trying to get to that person, trying to get food. Okay? And so when a dog is separated from dogs between the socialization period, anywhere from 5 to 12 weeks, then they can become reactive to other dogs. If they are separated from people during that time, they can become reactive to people. Okay? And so with Keisha, this is a dog that will do well with rehabilitation or a series of daycare. She's a very cute dog. If our listeners will go to Facebook and check her out, she's on the Facebook page, really small. We call them like a pocket pit. She's really small and really cute and really, really loves people, right? I mean,
yes.
I was floored by her love, and sensitivity and sweetness. She just needs to be socialized. And there are a lot of dogs that are misdiagnosed out here, just like her, that are being killed because we don't understand aggression. And, I actually want to see her again. I want to put her with some other dogs. We've got some other video I want to put up. That was just a little quick thing for us to get on YouTube. Okay? Look, she also is looking for a home because you brought her here, and you're in a place where, it's really difficult to have a dog.
Yes. No, yeah. And it's very difficult living in an apartment and having a pit bull because of the bad reputation they've had.
Well, I mean, it doesn't matter whether it's a pit or whatever kind of dog it is.
Yeah.
If you are allowed to have a dog, it's great. If you're not allowed, then it can be a problem.
No. Oh, yes, it is. I've been hiding her.
Yeah, see, so... we're looking for people that are interested in adopting Keisha or fostering Keisha. I'd be willing to, to help you with her, getting her straight for someone. And I want people to contact you if they're interested, and you can give out your number if you like. If you have a number, if you want them to call you if they're interested in adopting her. Is that something that you want to do?
Sure.
Okay, why don't you give out the number?
Okay, my number, the area code is 562 506 7400.
Okay, and I'll repeat that. It's area code 562 506 7400.
Yeah.
All right, Janet, I want to thank you for coming on. You got a really good dog there, and I want you to take those videos that I sent you and send them back to the veterinarians and send them back to those trainers. And if they want to talk, we can talk about how to do this, because it's not about what I can do. It's about the information that I have to offer. And I'm offering this information for anyone that wants to make a change in a dog's life. Okay?
That would be great. Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for coming on. And we will talk soon.
Brenda.
Okay, Janet.
Okay.
Great.
Thank you. Bye.
All right. Well, our next guest is someone that's been on before that I've been dying to talk to do a follow-up with. And this is Nicole Bruckman. Nicole, what's going on?
Hi, how are you?
Hi, I heard the baby in the background. Did she wake up?
Oh, no, I think that was actually Sam.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, Nicole, look, it's been a while. And the baby's like 9 months now, I think, right?
9.5 months.
9.5 months. And that's marvelous, This is so interesting because this is a big, big thing, and we want to do another show about babies and dogs in general, not just babies and pit bulls, but just dogs, period. And again, you got these two dogs, pit bulls. You had one before, and then you got two, and now you got a baby, and now you got a whole pack, and you got your husband there. And what's been going on? How things have been going?
Really well. Pearl, the one dog who we got on your recommendation, is kind of like a therapy dog almost for our other dog. She loves the baby, and she kind of has, for a while, and they've become really good friends. And Sam kind of feeds off of her energy,
right.
And then also the training that we did with you, now he's starting. At first, he would like stay away from her, and now she like pets him, and he sees her as one of the pack.
Right. You know, you said something there. I want to catch you on that. It's really important. You know, you go out, you read a lot of books, and these books tell you how to introduce your dog to babies. Mm-hmm. And I want to say something. You know, the way that we live with our dogs prior to the child ever coming, we live in a way that teaches our dog to think with their mouth, okay? To solve problems with their mouth. And when we offer things to our dogs, we offer them a bone, we offer them a toy, we offer them whatever, okay, to entertain themselves, we're saying to them, here, put this in your mouth, right? Whenever we have something for our dog, it's either here, this is something for you to lay on, or here, this is something for you to put into your mouth. And we see a lot of people bring babies home, and then what they do is they'll take a blanket and they will show it to the dog in an attempt for them to smell the baby on the blanket. Mm-hmm. And then the dog opens his mouth. And we say, oh my gosh, he would have bit the baby. Or we tilt the baby down and say, look at our new, addition to our home. And then the dog opens his mouth and they freak out, not understanding that we taught this behavior. Okay? And so in the wild, and many years ago when I dabbled in breeding, I've watched how mothers treat those members in the pack when they have a baby, or many babies, and they keep them at bay. They say, look, these babies are too vulnerable. I need to protect them, just like what I was saying about the shepherd and the sheep, okay, that you're responsible for them. And so the mother backs them away emotionally so that they say, these babies here, I'm supposed to be calm around, okay? Mm-hmm. And so they set the tone for the emotional state of mind when they're around the babies. And until these babies are able to venture out from the mother and to investigate and develop relationships with the other pack members is the only time that she will allow them to interact. And so over the years, I've been teaching this method, and what you're saying, what I just heard you say, is you did exactly what I have been teaching you to do. Mm-hmm. You tell Sammy and Pearl that this is off limits until this child is able to venture out with you to investigate and socialize with the dogs.
Yes. And she pets them, but like only when we're holding her, only like on our terms.
Exactly, because children do weird things. I mean, they use. Oh,
she does weird things. Yeah.
They use them as drums, right?
Yeah.
They pull on them, right? They kick them.
Right.
And see, by you setting the tone early on that this baby is important to you, right? That you will do anything to protect this baby. I usually, when I'm talking to people, I tell them, just pretend that this is a plate of food on your coffee table, and your dog is coming over to try to eat that food. You don't want that, right? Right. And you very clearly make that dog know that this is off limits. Well, this is what happens with the babies. And what we're actually doing is setting the hormonal level within the dog to look at the baby as something important, to look at the food as something important. And then when you start venturing out with your child and the baby starts to venture out crawling, the dog already knows that this is something very sensitive that they should be aware of and kind of stay away from, right? Mm-hmm. And then emotionally, when you become more and more comfortable with the behavior of the dog, you will allow yourself with the baby to come closer and closer to the dog. Isn't that what happened?
Right, and especially because we already, Pearl gets closer to the dog than Sam because he takes longer to get comfortable with things. But now she's like, at first she wasn't allowed to touch him. Now she pets him, and she understands he's a dog. She pets him. Absolutely. He understands, that, and he accepts that from her.
Right, and he accepts that from her because of the energy that you projected out from you. Okay?
Right.
Just as I mentioned earlier in the show about that energy radiating from you rather than you being absorbed by his energy and neurotic behavior, right?
Right.
Which actually makes you weak, right? So now there's a picture on Facebook, and I see the baby doing the pow pow on his back, and Sammy's tail is just going and going. He's loving it, and right. This is so important for those people who have babies or for those who are thinking about having babies. I always tell people, if you're thinking about having a child, then raise your dog now in the way that you're going to want him to be when that child gets here. You know?
Well, and something interesting that you're saying about that is that I made the mistake because before we had come to you, and then I got a little lax after we did come to you and things were working out so well with the other dogs, is I did treat them a little bit like they were babies. And I baby talked to them a lot. And I think that was the hardest thing we had to overcome when we brought the baby home, is that, you know, they every time I talked to the babies, they were a little bit jealous or looked a little bit like, I don't understand, that voice is for me. And it's, you know, easier if you probably just don't go down that road, because I had to backtrack. And so, yeah, that was like that was actually the hardest thing.
Well, I mean, you know, there are people out there that are listening to that, and they're going to make mistakes too. And when you did change, did you see a change in the dogs?
Yeah, you know, I think I had called you a couple times, like, real crazed about it. You told me that, and I also felt bad because the dogs were getting less attention, and everybody was just getting less attention, and I felt bad. So then I wanted to give the dogs, you know, I wanted to baby them more when I was with them. And you said, look, just treat it like it's the new normal, and they will adjust, and they won't feel neglected anymore. And at first that was hard for me more than them. And then I noticed that now, like, we have our little routine, and they wait for that, and they're perfectly fine with it, and they're happy. You know, this is the new normal for them now. This is the new routine. This is what we do. We have this time together when she's napping, or, you know, they go out at this time in the morning, and it's just an adjustment.
Yeah, but I mean, everyone's comfortable. Everyone's calm.
Yeah.
You know?
Everybody is comfortable and calm, yes.
And you, I
remember, wasn't the case in the beginning, right?
In the beginning, you were a nervous wreck. I mean.
Oh, I was really nervous.
And now it's been 9 months now, and you've been steadfast with everything that I've asked you to do. You feel that energy. You feel powerful. You feel in control. You know? Right,
and like you said, once you see positive results from something, then it gives you the determination to stick with it, even if you see something not positive. You're like, well, I had done this before, I can do it again, and
exactly. And you know, it's so important that we learn about the developmental things that we have to do before the baby gets here and after the baby gets here, and in order to make this thing work. Otherwise, you know, there's so many dogs that are turned into the shelter. And, you know, a lot of people have asked me about you because they've now had babies. Oh, yeah, they've now had babies, and they're going to come on also. But they were very curious about what has taken place since our last conversation on the air when, you know, you were telling us about this. And so I hope they're listening. It's really important that we need to change the way and the things that we've been taught about how we interact with our dogs, with our children, because the biggest problem is that they misinterpret our intentions. Okay?
Yeah.
And we have to think like them. I mean, dogs, they can't say, well, she thinks like a bird and he thinks like a horse. They expect for you to think like them. And humans, right? And then humans expect for dogs to understand what we want from them, but that's not the way nature wired them. That's just not it, you know? So you've got a husband, you've got the 2 dogs, you've got the baby, you're doing your thing, you're going into the 9th month, you have no fear about anything now, you got your whole routine down.
Yes. Yes.
This is perfect. I hope that everyone that's listening that has a child or thinking about having a child, if they need to, go to Facebook, go to Twitter, send you a message. I'm sure you'll be happy to talk to them about any of the insecurities that you may have had in the past, and that you are strong now.
Yeah, and I think it's important to know, too, Sam wasn't, an easy dog. It wasn't just like, Sam had his own issues to start with, so it was a big deal that we were able to do all this, so thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. And, I do want to tell our listeners also to go to the 11 o'clock news tonight. We will be talking about some of these things. It's Channel 7 at 11, maybe it's 11:30 this evening, Channel 7, to look at the segment. Okay? And Nicole, I want to thank you again for coming on and
yes, thank you, Brandon.
Tell us what's going on with Sammy and them, and I can't wait to see some more video of him, which I hope to tonight. All right?
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much, Nicole. Tell your husband I say hello.
I will.
All
Thanks.
right. You're welcome.
Bye.
Okay. Our next caller is Jason Alexander with the dog name Finn. How you doing, Jason?
Very well. Thank you, Brandon.
Okay, man. Look, tell us the story about Finn. I mean, if you go to our Facebook page, he's a big, beautiful dog that was a rescue dog. You got him from the shelter, right?
Correct.
Can you tell us the story, how you came about him and what you do on your spare time, or what you do, period?
Well, I volunteer at the West Los Angeles Animal Shelter.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd been there for a few months, and I guess one day just kind of came across Finn in the kennels there, and just kind of seemed to bond with him pretty well.
Mm-hmm.
And pulled some strings and moved into a new apartment where I was allowed to have dogs, and I adopted him in July of this past year.
Okay. And tell us, what happened. How long has he been in the shelter, first of all?
I started there, I guess, a little over a year ago. I think it was around November 2011.
Okay. And he was a owner surrender or a stray?
Correct. He was an owner surrender.
Mm-hmm.
I was pretty limited on information from the previous owner as far as his living situation and previous history with Finn. The only information that I really did have, she mentioned that Finn listed Finn as being 7 years old, 6 to 7 years old, which through visiting with you eventually, and the vets that I took him to for his checkups, approximate his age to be around 3 to 4 years old.
Right.
And she listed some aggression issues, but really there were no details on it.
Okay. All right. And so, tell us, you get him out of the shelter. He becomes your dog. Did you foster him first, or you just adopted him?
I just adopted him.
Okay. And tell us what happened when the problems began.
Well, I adopted him on the 1st of July this past year. And within the first few days, or first couple weeks of me adopting Finn, he had 2 separate fighting incidents. The first one was on the 4th of July, and it was so only a few days after I got him. Mm-hmm. And I was actually at work that day, and my girlfriend wanted to bring him with her over to her house, where they were having a family gathering for the 4th of July.
Mm-hmm.
And he was, I was not there, so just kind of the story that I got was, she had him on the leash and was with him the entire day, and just kind of through the course of the day, just kind of getting a little more, just became a little nervous with, some of the different noises and experiences from being out of the shelter and just new environment altogether.
Mm-hmm.
Her cousin opened a folding table behind him, and he spooked and kind of flipped and turned around. Her grandfather walked through the front door, and like a 9-year-old man isn't gonna walk quite as smoothly as we will, so he kind of hobbled in with a cane, and I think the sight of that spooked him, and doors closing and whatnot. So she took him out to the front of the house on the porch, and he was laying down, and she was sitting on one side of him, just kind of petting him on the head, trying to calm him down, get him to relax. Her sister-in-law, or my girlfriend's sister-in-law, was on the other side, doing the same thing. And I guess after a couple of minutes, another family member came out of the front door, and just because of the way they were sitting, she wound up approaching Finn from the back and kind of came from behind and over him and reached down to, kind of do the good doggy, everything's okay kind of actions.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think he expected anybody to come up behind him like that, and he got spooked and turned and bit her on the jaw.
Mm.
Thankfully, everybody was okay. Just a couple, some puncture wounds, but it was kind of unsettling to hear on my end.
Right, of course.
Rushed over there. I got a phone call when I was at work, and rushed over and made sure everybody was okay, and scooped up the dog and got him home.
Okay. And then you had a second.
I'm sorry?
You had a second incident?
The second incident was maybe a couple weeks later.
Mm-hmm.
In between the two biting incidents, I talked to an associate friend of mine who also volunteers at the shelter, and got me in touch with you, and you recommended getting a muzzle for him, which I had gone out and was with and had him with me to get the muzzle. On the way home, stopped by the hospital that I work at, and a friend of mine who works there was interested in meeting Finn, so gave him a call, and we met outside, and so he could meet the dog. They were interacting for maybe 10 or 15 minutes or so, and as far as I could tell, everybody was acting appropriate. Finn was sitting down and allowing my friend to, kind of pet him on the head and talk to him and everything. My friend got his cell phone out, has a camera on it, because he wanted to take a picture with the dog. He kneeled down next to Finn, who was sitting down, put his arm around Finn's shoulder, his left arm around Finn's shoulder, extended his right arm in front of them to the camera facing back to take a picture of the two, which I didn't quite realize at the time. When he was doing that, he also pulled Finn in closer to his body, and I believe that motion, just kind of triggered an uneasiness or some kind of fear reaction in Finn, and he turned and bit my friend in the face, and was a significant wound. Thankfully, everybody's okay, and my friend had to get a number of stitches, and he has healed very well. But I think emotionally, I took it harder than anybody else involved.
course.
in the situation.
Yeah, of course. And this is interesting, very important. As I mentioned in the very beginning of the show, we have to understand the different types of aggression. And this dog, and I know you tried to get in contact with me before, and that's the reason why we couldn't get together. That's why I told you to get the muzzle in the meantime. What happens is when we see little signs like this is a dog that's misinterpreting intentions of the human being, okay? And through experience, as I mentioned, when you do something over and over again, you begin to recognize patterns in dogs of, oh, this is fear aggression, or this is dominance aggression, or this is subdominance aggression. And right away, he really should have been evaluated. Now, he is a dog that is secure yet insecure. This is how I label a dog like him. Secure yet insecure. And the secure part is that whoever his owner was before had babied him. When dogs bite like this, okay? Spoiled him. And so they do things like that. All right? Now, insecure in that he's not social with dogs. He missed that part in his life. It's like a child that goes to school and he starts in junior high and he didn't go through first, second grade and all of the, you know what I'm saying? So with this guy, we've got to put him with dogs first. He's got to learn how to judge his level of aggression. There's a lot of hormones that's within the dog, just like within the person. And there's some hormones that don't need to come out in the dog, and there's some that don't need to come out in people. Okay? It's a problem. So, with the dogs, they're going to put the pressure on him. See, it's all about pressure in a pack. That's what we call, there's a term called flooding, which produces pressure. And that pressure creates stress. And there's different types of stress. Just like with humans, there's the stress of finishing a deadline, and then there's the stress of losing everything. They're going to affect you differently. And so in a pack, they've got different dogs. You've got alphas, betas, subordinates, and runts. You've got dominant dogs, submissive dogs, subordinate dogs. They're all mixed in, and they're all going to investigate him on the level that they are on in the pack. And when doing that, they're going to produce certain hormones to come forth within your dog. That is going to teach him to judge his level of aggression. So they're going to find out, is he an alpha? Is he a beta? Is he a subordinate? Or is he a runt? And we're talking about personality. Those names are just something that we can, relate to dogs. But we're talking about what kind of personality does he have? And they're going to push that. And they're going to continue to push it in different ways from different dogs until he becomes familiar enough with it to calm down. Okay? This is why when you hear some people on the radio show say that my dog is calm, it was interesting that he became calm. He seemed happy. Well, what's happening is we tend to think that we can physically calm our dogs down by touching and talking and rubbing and kissing, and we're actually feeding the neurotic behavior. We can't do it that way. But what we can do is that we can create an environment where the dog can calm himself down based on what happens in that environment. Okay? So my dogs, they don't cater to his neurosis. They push it. They test it. They say, no, that's not who you are. Let me see who you are. And what happens is the dog becomes comfortable because he's speaking the same language as the other dogs. Mm-hmm. And you can see Finn in the different videos. If you were to go to my my YouTube account and look up Finn, you will see all of these personalities. You'll see the dominant or secure personality, and then you'll see the neurotic personality. You'll see him wanting to engage with dogs, but at the same time keeping them at bay. Do you remember that? Mm-hmm. him running around like crazy in a circle and shooting out like a bullet, right? When I see dogs do things like that, that tells me that that's something that they learned from the person that they were living with, his previous owner. And this is how we do when we play chase. We chase a dog, he runs around in circles and runs past you, and then he chases us, and he grabs us by the pants leg, and he's just this neurotic behavior. That's learned, okay? And it's a way of emboldening him. He becomes emboldened with that so that he can become assertive and dominant. And this is why I'm not in agreement with people that play chase with their dogs, because the dog is not playing. He's really trying to determine who's more in control, who's more dominant, you or him. And the fact that we're not as agile, we're not as strong as he is, we're not as determined as he is, he sees us as being weak. That's the purpose for dogs doing that with each other. And so he's trying to use a learned behavior from humans with my dogs. And that's why when he runs around in a circle and they pay attention to that, and then he comes back and says, and he shows his teeth, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's what he learned. So he's operating on a learned behavior. So what we have seen is this dog is not really the dominant dog that has bit this female and bit your friend. That's something that he learned to do from his previous owner. He's really a weak dog. And if you remember when Leroy walked into the front door and he raised up and barked, right?
Mm-hmm.
At that moment, I disciplined him. And what did he do?
He jumped right into my lap.
And around your back. Behind your head.
Turned into a 130-pound lap dog.
130-pound lap dog. That's who he is. Okay? That's who Finn is. That's why you love him. Because that's the part you see. Am I right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, the part that he has become, that is the learned part. Genetically, he's that lap dog. But what he has learned is that people are weak. Why? Because in the developmental years, the developmental time, months, during the fear imprint period, during the socialization period, he was babied. He was loved and affectionate and given treats, and he could do no wrong, and he was sleeping in the bed, and he was getting kisses, and he became like a spoiled child. And so, because he learned that from humans, he uses that towards humans. So when he sees them being subordinate and submissive, it pushes a button in him to become assertive and dominant.
Mm-hmm.
See, we never practice producing the prey, or the predator, becoming the predator and producing the prey within our dogs. See, dogs' lives are based on predator-prey. That's their life hierarchy. This positive reinforcement and love and affection, this came out of the concept of humans. We have to teach them that in a way that they don't misinterpret to be weak, so that it actually becomes an act of affection, love on both sides. We have to practice both the discipline and domination. And so we're not finished with him, with you. And there was something else that you were doing, and I want our people to listen, that I don't want you to do, is you said that you were trying to go to the dog park and walk around the exterior of the dog park.
Yeah, a few weeks ago, I kind of started doing it on my own. In my mind, I viewed it as kind of a stepping stone to getting to, part of the socialization process. If you could see the other dogs running around having fun, like, okay, that's something that I can do. Mm-hmm. And I thought, kind of slowly giving them more doses of that experience would be a positive thing. When I brought that up to you, you kind of opened my eyes up and related it to, you have a 5-year-old at Christmas time, and you're like, well, here's your Christmas present, and it's in this drawer, but you can't go in the drawer. You can't touch it.
Exactly.
But it's there.
You're creating stress.
Mm-hmm.
This is what I mentioned in the first part of the show. Stress leads to aggression. humans have to learn how to create an environment where we can reduce stress by socialization. Okay? You on the outside of the park, between the fence, which is a barrier, can create aggression. Okay? Because, I mean, I've seen a lot of people do that. And I've asked them all. I said, look, how long have you been doing this? Have you ever gone into the dog park? And they say no. I said, and then you never will.
Yeah.
You're never going to go in there. You're never going to be able to see on the outside of that dog park what you need to see to make you comfortable enough to walk in that park. We're not going to do it. You've had too much bad history. Events that have taken place.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? And so what you have to do is get him evaluated like you're doing with me, and then we make that step for you. Mm-hmm. Because I see all of the information that I need to see when I'm evaluating him. I know from experience, tried over and over again, what to look for. You're hoping. You've got faith that it's going to be okay. It's like an old saying, faith is the substance of things hoped for, but the evidence of things unyet seen. But you got to get there, man. Yeah. So I don't create more stress for your dog. I want to teach people how to reduce stress. Wow, Jason, look at the time, man. We're going to have to close. Jason, look, I want to thank you for coming on, talking about Finn. I know you're going to keep coming with him. You're not going to give up on him. You've been a trooper from day one with this dog. Most people could not have put up with this type of thing, and you've done it. And I want to commend you. And I'm glad that you come on to talk to other people to let them know that this thing can be fixed. So, how are you doing with Finn now? What's happening? Is everything going good?
Yeah, everything is going really well with him. Done a couple of, just following your tips and recommendations, and, we'll keep bringing him in to continue the socializing. And, from what you've told me and from what I've seen on the videos, that he just seems to improve and open up more and more each time. And might not be next week, but I know that there, will be a time we can get him into the dog park and
absolutely
get him introduced to other dogs and other people, and continue to work with them, but also on myself.
Exactly.
I know that's a big part of it.
That's the key. You and I talking. You see how important for us to communicate, right? To plug into each other. Because every time you leave, you come back, you leave with something that's going to help you.
Yes.
That's what this is about.
And I thank you so much for all your help and direction.
You're very welcome, Jason. And that's it for the Fouché Way Radio Show. Please tune in next week, Thursday, 1 o'clock p.m., where we will be talking more about dog aggression and what we should be doing. Thank you.
You're listening to Fouché Way with Brandon Fouché, right here on LA Talk Radio.